This video is going to show a solo GM getting platinum rank during the Into the Light update. The current GM Nightfall is corrupted. We are using a Shadebinder Osmiomancy Stasis build with a exotic machine gun Xenophage and Mountaintop. So the idea of this run is to do a controlled run that's safe to do, and it's something different other than solo, because we've all been spamming solo for months at this point. And Stasis Surge is on, so I figured, because I've seen a lot of people doing Shadebinder in Legend Onslaught, it's a popular build in Legend Onslaught, I figured I'll do a solo GM with Shadebinder. And for good reason as well, because Shadebinder is actually really good in the game, especially with the artifact mods. There is some artifact mods for Stasis, and it does make it OP. So we use Mountaintop as well, because the thing about the Stasis turret is it gives you license to flexibility with weapons. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, say goodbye to Platinum Rank. Platinum Rank has now left the video. So you would think there that I've lost Platinum because the Overlord champion has fell off map and I haven't tagged him, so therefore I get no kill credit. This is absolutely false. I still get Platinum Rank on this run. I got the Wild Style GL, Adept Weapon. I got 7 shards. I got all the general loot that you get from GM. So, what do we know from this? What do we learn from it? You're allowed to skip one champion in this run and still get platinum rank. That is the answer. We got an additional overload spawn. The reason why that was is because some of the spawn enemies killed the taken enemies. This spawns in the extra overload. In a fire team, if you go quick enough, this won't happen. And also, it generally doesn't happen in a solo either, but it did in this case. That's fine though, so we'll just kill this overload here, just to make sure. Because one's already fell off map. We're not skipping another one because it might end up being gold. Well, it will be gold, I can tell you right now, if we don't kill that overload. So make sure that you fill up on ammo. I've used more than half of my ammo. Well, just above half. Ammo economy for Xenophage is really good. That's why I'm using it. That's another weapon that's gotten a lot of use in Legend Onslaught for good reason as well. It's because of the sheer amount of damage it does. It's damage versus accessibility, right? If there was a graph between accessibility and damage, Xenophage would be top. It's not the best damage in the game, but when we evaluate ease of use, it's one of the best guns in the game. Just like Dragon's Breath is one of the best weapons in the game because of its flexibility. It's flexible and it's good in endgame content, and that's all we care about, folks. I don't care about a damn graph for solo GM environment. I do care about those graphs that we see for DPS and stuff. I do care about them, but not for this, because guess what? There is no DPS rotation in GMs. There are no bosses that require mechanics to then do mechanic and then get 30 seconds of damage boss. There's no such thing as GMs. GMs don't contain mechanics. I don't know where we're at with that, but there's no mechanics. I mean, there's a mechanic here technically, but there's no raid mechanics. So there's no raid mechanics and there's no DPS phases, what I refer to as a phase. A phase is a phase of damage against a boss that is allotted a time to you. You have unlimited time in GM, technically, as long as you don't die past 45 minutes in a team. And if it's solo, you're going to orbit anyways. So I never look at those graphs for GMs, and neither should you either. If it's solo, if it's fire team, things change a little bit because it depends on what your strategy is with your team. That is completely different. Fire team strategy, solo strategy are two different things. I'm playing Pac-Man, you're playing Tetris. They're two different things, got it? Literally. Everything is completely different. Although saying that, 3 Xenophages would also still melt. That's just how that would happen. But that doesn't mean to say that that would be the absolute best setup that you would run in a team. Not saying that at all. Generally, it's galley rockets. But there's also GLs now. But like fire team runs, speed runs, I still think you would see teams with galley. Because of how good it is with the Wolfpack rounds, etc., and giving it to legendary rockets, and the way that you can spam heavy ammo now, yeah, that's still really strong. Phase 2, we pop a super for Scions. The reason for this is because, for some reason, I took unknown damage as the taken enemies spawned in. I think when taken enemies spawn in, it does area of effect damage, because nothing damaged me other than the fact that I was on the top of that taken spawn. None of the enemies had a chance to fire me yet. They hadn't even spawned in. If you play it back, they were spawning in the process of it. So I had to pop a super. Generally, I wouldn't have. I would have saved it for a phalanx. Phalanx. So you've got 2 phalanxes that are shielded and 1 knight. Your goal right now, once all Scions are killed, is to kill one of the phalanxes. Because the phalanxes, one will go one way, one will go another way, and they'll ambush you. Which is actually really good AI if you think about it. It's one instance where I was like, oh, that's pretty good AI. So you want to confront one of them and melt down one of the phalanxes as quickly as you can. A good offense is a good defense. And in this playstyle, in that moment, it was better to be offensive. So people talk about playstyles in PvP, that's a thing. But in PvE, it's also a thing. But I actually manage and swap between offensive, defensive, and sort of passive-aggressive as well, depending on what we're doing. And there's all variations of them all. But then there's also my own unique playstyle that's unique to me and only me. And then you the viewer, also has one. You just might not have unlocked it yet. Because if you're somebody that just watches other people, chances are that you play like them. Especially if you're just focusing on watching one person, you will end up just picking up their habits. Now, for a player like me, I have a ton of research in D2, visually and on paper. As in, not on paper, but, you know, read and Reddit and stuff. But I'm on about visual research now. I'm on about videos and watching players. Like somebody would watch a football game. They're watching a certain football player the entire time, and they know exactly these little things that they do. It's no difference with this. It isn't. So I've watched all the best players in the world on D2 for hours and hours and hours, and I have lots of hours, watch time hours in that. So I cherry-picked little things of all these great players who you probably haven't heard of. Some of them you have heard of, right? But some of you haven't. Italians, Russians, Germans, French, British, on and on and on. All right, I know a lot of the best players in this game, so I picked up habits. I picked up small habits from all of them. So I'm like a chimera subclass of all of them, because I've took bits of what I want from them and bits that I don't want. Because there's some playstyles I don't want off some people, but then there's some playstyles I'll take that off you. I'll use that to my advantage. I'll use this. I'll use that, and that's been amplified like this since 2017. Not in D1. I wasn't evaluating people's playstyles in D1, but in D2 definitely. Since Leviathan Raid, it's since then. So I have a plethora of information that way. But what I'm trying to say is, make sure that you have or you watch a varied amount of content creators for solo. You need to watch them all. and pick the best things from them all and take them to yourself, and then develop your own strats as well on top of that. You then become your own player rather than a copy of another player. So for this section here, we're going to get a turret down as much as we can. This section can be quite annoying because the Knights hide, the Shriekers slow down our playstyle a little bit because you can't push them all the time. But because of the Stasis turret, we can allow to push a bit more aggressive because it'll freeze them in place, which means they stop shooting at us, which is really good. So we're going to switch between Mountaintop and Xenophage. This is why Xenophage and Mountaintop are a good combo, because essentially, let's just stop thinking for a second. Xenophage is basically like Mountaintop. It's the same type of damage. High damage from a range. The difference being is that Xenophage has a 13 round mag. Mountaintop has one shot, breech loaded. But they're doing the same job. Just think of basically Mountaintop as a mini rocket launcher at this point. That's basically what it is, because it's shooting in a fast line. It's doing more damage per single shot than Xenophage is. Isn't that crazy? Per single shot. I'm not on about per mag. I'm on about per single shot. Xenophage is doing more. My roll Frenzy, and I haven't got a good column in. I haven't got a good perk in the first column. If you were to ask me what my God roll Mountaintop is, well, there's probably 2 or 3. Number 1, an auto-load holster roll with either with either Frenzy of Orpal, or an impulse amplifier roll with Frenzy of Orpal, right? Or a demolitionist roll with Frenzy of Orpal. Notice recombination doesn't enter the discussion. It doesn't enter discussion because it's not a God roll for what I do. Okay? I think I need to start telling people, like when I'm talking about a God roll, I'm particularly talking about it for me. What's tailoring my needs? A recombination Mountaintop is not tailoring my needs. I've got it and I've kept it. And I will keep a recombination roll. And you should too, because it's got a certain playstyle in the game. But it's very niche, and it's only for certain times in the game. For general use and general play, like Impulse Amplifier, Frenzy, these Demolitionist, these types of perks help us out so much that they're too good to not have. If you don't have these perks on your Mountaintop, you're going to have a worse rolled Mountaintop than most. Now mine isn't that good. Well, it is good and it isn't. The reason why it's good is because it's got hard launch and implosion rounds. Yes, it's got those 2, which increases damage, because blast radius decreases damage on Mountaintop. It's actually, whether it's a bug or not, I don't know, but if you have a masterwork stat for blast radius, do not masterwork your Mountaintop. It does come masterworked if it's a shiny, so this is a problem. Whether it's a bug or not, I don't know. I hope it is a bug and they sort that out, because it's kind of odd, isn't it? But I've got that bit. I've got Slick Draw. I don't like Slick Draw. Now, somebody's told me Slick Draw is good for swapping to and stuff. This is like DPS rotations, and like, it's not giving me that much of a benefit. I'd still rather have like a demo or auto-load holster or impulse amplifier. So those are my Mountaintop recommendations. That's what I think the GM role that you should be searching for. If you're searching for any other role, it's probably a Lost Sector role. So you go and do your Lost Sectors. I'm happy that you like that recombo roll, because it isn't good for much else. Obviously, I'm joking, but yeah, recombo is good in certain situations. Don't delete, keep it. But you still need a good, usable one, an overall one like this. So we're using a mini exploit here. We are going to crouch and hug the banister. I don't know what you call it in USA. Is it called banisters? The railing. Yeah? Hug the railing, crouch. This stops you from being teleported. This stops the castaway mechanic. It means that you can melt the Hive Realm, including Hive Unstop, which there are 1, and the Major, the Ultra. Kill him, and we're done. If there's ammo behind you, they'll go and pick it up. If it's heavy, special, definitely pick it up, because ammo, you tested for ammo in this phase. Because on the Taken Realm, you were limited to where you can move to because of Shriekers. It means that you've got to deal with what ammo you've got. Now, my ammo's decent-ish, but you will still see after this encounter is done, I'm left with barely any. Because you need to use a bit of ammo here because it's important. It's a critical moment. This bit's more difficult than the first realm. So what we need to do is wait for the Taken Unstoppables to get to us. We're going to use the left-hand side piece of cover. We're going to keep jumping up like this to gain attention. Once a Unstop sees you, he gains a track of where you are, and they push. So, look at this. Pay close attention. Look, the Unstop see me, they push. Did you see that? Now, the Unstop would never push like that if I hadn't done what I did. The boss caught us, unfortunately, but that's fine. We had good enough movement to get out of that. We're going to use this super here. This is a good example of Winter's Wrath being a bad super. Now, I've had a couple of Warlock mains. I've had a few Shadebinder mains talk to me about this and disagree with me over it. And you can. I want people to disagree with me over things. Because if people didn't disagree with me about stuff, then I'm probably not challenging people's ideas enough. So I like it when people disagree with me, because it means that I'm at least doing something right. If there's too many people disagreeing with me, however, that's not good. But if there's enough, then it means that I'm challenging people's ideas, and I've got them on the rocks. Because they're getting insulted if I say something. Look, Shadebinder Warlock isn't good for the super. Which is why Shadebinder Warlock should use Aegis Scepter. This weapon, basically, super goes into the gun to overcharge the gun. This is one of the only guns in the game that has this mechanic. Shadebinder's Warlock should be using Aegis Scepter. Unless you're using something else for certain application. For this run, I'm using Xenophage because of the ease of use and the ammo economy of the weapon. And it assists damage with Mountaintop. It's a good pairing with it. You've saw me use Galahorn. If you want to use Galley in this, Galley's fantastic on overloads. It's a very, very good weapon for overloads, and it's good for ag clear as well. You saw people do the Solo Legend Onslaught. What did they use? Galley? Wait, I thought Galley was bad, everyone was saying, right? Obviously, I never thought that, but people were saying that. Oh, they nerfed Galley, it's not that good anymore. Somebody soloed Onslaught with Galley. What does that have to tell you? It's not just damage that we need to consider for weapons. It's got a lot of other things going for it as Galahorn, and so has Xenophage. It's not top of DPS charts, Xenophage. It's just how easy and accessible it is. Because the easier and more accessible your loadout is, the more aggressive you can play, and the faster your run can be. This run wasn't quick because I'm on Shadebinder, and I've told you, Shadebinder isn't a fast class. But when you look at a couple of speedrunners, or if they speedrun a certain activity, there's always a Xenophage knocking about somewhere. And especially if you're in content that's underleveled, Xenophage is really good for stuff like that. So we've killed the 2 Unstops, we've killed the Ultra. Notice our ammo, like I said to you, ammo, you get tested for ammo on this bit because you can't go out and get it. Well, you can, there is shooter loot, but listen, don't put shooter loot on because the god roll for Tyranny of Heaven is explosive head and incandescent. So just because you're struggling to get ammo doesn't mean that you should put shooter loot on in it for one situation. I'm just saying you can't go and get that ammo because the Shriekers, unless you want to invest time in killing the Shriekers, then going to pick up the ammo, sure. But you're going to get the ammo anyways because the game's just going to naturally give you it because there's what's known as timed bricks. So technically, anyone can solo GMs, right? So if you were to complete a room in a GM, then go and make a drink, and have your character AFK, as long as you don't get booted, if you leave it half an hour, then come back to the game, you'll be guaranteed heavy on your next kill, because there's timed bricks. So once so much time has elapsed, you're guaranteed heavy. So you could literally do one room, have a half-hour break. One room, have a half-hour break, and you'd have infinite heavy for every room. Obviously, no one's going to do this, but I'm just saying, like, you're going to get ammo back anyways. There's an overwhelming more chance of it happening for every time you don't get ammo. It's quite complicated, and I'm not here to tell you the mechanics of ammo economy right now here in a solo GM, because you're making me do two things at once. There's guys made videos on it. Prelapse made the best video about ammo economy. If you're more interested in that, in exactly how it works. He tells us how it works. Exactly. I've watched that video enough to know. I mean, I don't know as much as him, but I know enough now to know, like, it's confirmed a lot of things I already sort of knew about the game. And it hasn't really changed much for me, because I'm really super conservative about ammo. I'm always managing ammo. And you should too, as well, to a degree. And all about, you know, should you use heavy or should you use special? When should you and when should you not? Well, remember, special ammo is always more frequent than heavy, for the most part, when solo. When you're in a fight team, everything's different, because you've got exotics to generate heavy ammo and special ammo. When you're solo, there isn't any. There is special ammo finisher, right? That's different. I'm not on about that. I'm just on about in general. There isn't, you know, Aeon gauntlets don't work solo. I wish they did. That would be so amazing if they just work solo. That would be one thing I would love. That it would be infinite heavy, I know, but I don't know. Maybe it would have to be apportioned to super energy, like it used to be. Sort of like, I don't know, something like that. It would be nice though to somehow. We've had heavy ammo finish in the past. Is what I'm sort of trying to getting at. So if they're still doing IFAC mods, let's have heavy ammo finisher back for a bit, because it allows me. I'm just thinking about me. I'm not thinking about you much. I'm just thinking about me. When I'm doing videos, it allows me to be more creative than usual, even more creative, because you can then start to sort of look at other heavies that you generally wouldn't use. But if you're allowed to spam them, then the power of them goes up in an interesting way. So this little section, we'll just get our turret down. We're trying to conserve ammo a little bit. We're going to start using it though now, because we've got some ammo on the floor, which I'm going to use in a minute. When we're stunning as well with the turret, when that target's frozen, obviously when we shatter the target, that's when the actual stun happens. If you do your mountaintop at the wrong times, you don't get the full damage. Of course we know this, but just thought I'd point that out. As well, try and get radiant when we can, because that's going to buff mountaintop's damage. And it takes 2 crits with a bow. 2 crits. So we may as well do it. So we've got our ammo now. We've got an extra brick in mid. So I've got 15 shots Xenophage, and I've got 18 shots mountaintop plus bricks in mid. So we can just use mountaintop in this case. I've got a nade, and I've got a backup one as well. But what we'll do is we'll allow for the turret to freeze first, right? So then we do stun damage, because if you do damage too early before the target's frozen, the overload will enrage. This stops the enrage. Very important small detail that everyone would miss, but I'm pointing it out to you. Let turret freeze champ, then start doing mountaintop damage or whatever damage you're doing. That's what's so good about this. It's like having 2 DPS weapons on in a GM. That is really strong. Going back to what I said earlier, a good offense is a good defense. So the quicker you can kill a target safely, the better, because you are condensing the run, each encounter, to a shorter run. Right? The shorter a run, the less risk there will be, if it is done in a particular way. That's not me referencing speedrunning, because speedrun's a whole different topic, because that needs to be practiced. It needs to be experimented with, the strats, when to do this, when to do that, what's the exact best loadout to speedrun with, where there's a lot of skill in that. And I'm not on about that per se. I'm on about more of scripted runs. A lot of my solo GMs are scripted runs. So I'll know in advance exactly how each part's going to go to the small, tiniest details. With Corrupted, it doesn't matter too much because everything's really generalized. It's long range. There are some moments where you need to do the exact right things, but from when you're playing a range, you're fine. You're just using your bow, aren't you? It's more so at the boss fight and stuff where you need to be on point. Other GMs are more technical and Corrupted nowadays. If you'd ask me, like Corrupted nowadays, I like this GM as it is. A lot of people say they like the way it used to be. I don't know if I do. Corrupted was a nightmare. Nightmare the way it used to be. Where I'm on about where you could stand at the boss fight and you couldn't stand in certain zones. I didn't like that. I like the way it is now. It's a bit more scripted, and you do have to push the boss. You are forced to push the boss on the final phase. So there is that. This overload always falls off map. So the map, the champ isn't coded to stand on the island up above. So the champ will just step off. Okay, that's literally it. All you need to know is make sure you do some sort of damage to the champ before he falls off map. If you don't, you will lose platinum rank. You will lose platinum rank off this particular champion. So you got to be careful with that. So make sure you do your chip damage. The turret helped out to really push this section. This section's annoying as well because the acolytes generally hide. They have nowhere to hide with the turret, so you can push up a little bit better. Things are more scripted with Shadebinder. It's more of like, a scripted run, like I was saying. We'll get another turret down. Notice I don't use my cold snap much. So I'll only use a cold snap when I need an instant freeze, because turret does not instant freeze. So a lot of people have said the playstyle revolving around osmiomancy is to get a turret down and then throw a cold snap. Yeah, that isn't entirely true, and you shouldn't use it like this at all times. If you do that, you will lose all your charges and you will be sitting on waiting on an aid. If you do it like that all the times, because cold snap can sometimes whiff. So you've got to be careful with that and know, like on miners, it's totally okay to throw a cold snap. Sometimes on an overload it is as well. If you want an instant freeze instead, so you've got two charges, you just want to get an instant freeze, throw a cold snap, you'll instantly freeze them. Once you shatter them, that's a stun. So there's utility there, right? I think I end up using it down here. So sometimes I will do that, but for the most part, you want to be sitting at the back of the map, using one turret at a time, using your rift. My armor charges are based around this, by the way, so I've got utility kickstart on. Now you're going to say, well, that's more rift energy. Well, yeah, it is more rift energy, but it's also more grenade energy, because I have double balls from detonation on the arms and I have double bomber on the class piece, which therefore when I pop a rift, I get grenade energy. Balls from detonation generates which one is it? I'm trying to think what balls from detonation does, but it plays into the grenades. I have them equipped on. So they play into each other. Balls from detonation, bomber, and then if you've got utility kickstart on, you're going to get more rift energy back when you pop a rift. It's all to guarantee that you've still got your turrets up. So look, we do a cold snap. Look at the nade energy on the left. So notice it, we're half. We're just above half now. So you can see how it's not like 1-to-1. And I killed plenty of ads there. So it's not something that you should be spamming a cold snap. It's an emergency freeze. That's what it's counted as. Same as your melee. Your melee is there as a backup emergency freeze if all else fails. Or if you just wanted to do a stun via your melee instead of your nade. That's how you need to look at it. But for the most part, at all other times, it should be just turret, turret, turret. If you've got a background turret if you've got another turret on you, keep hold of it for now, because one turret is enough for everything that you need to do in GMs. You never really need more than one turret up in a solo GM. There might be some use cases where you can turret two doors and sort of spawn trap enemies like this. sometimes there might be a case that you would do that, but just know that once you've done that, you're not going to have. You might just get one charge back depending on what happens and how many enemies you freeze. So you can do that, but for the most part, just use 1-1-1 like that. Same again, managing our ammo. We had some ammo drop back there, so I didn't realize there was an ammo brick behind that overload. There is, but I opted to use Mountaintop damage because I want full heavy. But I didn't. This was based on me not realizing there was heavy ammo down there. If there was heavy ammo, if I knew that there was heavy ammo, I wouldn't have used Mountaintop there. But we've got a special brick behind us. So look, everything's done with managing ammo constantly. And if you play like this, you shouldn't really suffer for ammo any time in the run apart from the taken realm. Again, don't sit on your. Don't misquote me. I don't want you to sit on your ammo too much and just spam primary, because you are limiting yourself. Like, there's no point you having the special weapon on and the heavy weapon on. If you're doing it like that, you may as well just put an exotic primary on, like Le Monarch or something. But you've got to know the limit of when you start to use too much ammo and when you're not, and where your critical moments are in the run. If you don't know where the critical moments are, then it doesn't matter. Moreover, when you use a Roman super like this, so I'm going to put a turret down and use my super. He's for great super use. So that's what Winter's Wrath is good for. It's good for taking down targets like this. It's doing a good job there. So what I said earlier is still true for champs. It just needs its damage bump for champs and maybe some yellow bar enemies. But for red bars and orange bars, the super's good. But what I was saying there is, when you use a Roman super, this saves ammo. Right? So if you are going to be not using Aegis Scepter and you do use your super, try to use it on a situation where you otherwise would have used your heavy or your special. You can use super for critical moments because this stops you from dying. You get super armor, which gives you more than T10 Resil. I don't know what the exact percentage is. Someone out there does. But you get more resistance while you're in a Roman super, which is more than T10 Resil. So you are super tanky in a Roman super. It's very valuable. So you use it as a panic button and for ag clear. That's what this super is used for. Again, it's not good on champs, but sometimes if there's only champs to be killed in a room, you may as well use it anyways. Which is why I did earlier. Especially if you're lacking on ammo, then yes. But you can see how well we cleared the ads there, though. So the first wave was really good. Second wave, we got our second wave of enemies as well. We'll shatter the crystals. We get improved ability regeneration, which is nice. We've got ammo on the floor, heavy, that is. We've actually dealt with the enemy phase. So I'm doing this fight is completely different to how I've done the solo. So if you saw me do this with solo, I do it all differently, especially with Golden Gun. With Shadebinder, you actually want to kill ads first, then DPS at the end. This is the way to do it. This is the easy way to kill Cydia. You're never threatened if you do it like this. It's really easy. Make sure, as I say, you use your Roman supers for every phase. So we've got another phase happening here. This means that we don't need to rush DPS, by the way, and you can manage your ammo to even a greater DL because you don't have to be like spamming a heavy to get out of there and stuff like that. You could just literally use primary, a couple of mountaintop shots, maybe save Xenophage for phase 3, phase 4, and this is the thought process that's going through my mind. I'm trying to sort of take you through it all, like on a higher level, rather than like everything just being so generic that people tell you. It's like, oh, in this phase, use heavy. Well, do you need to though? Do you need to use heavy on this phase? I'd argue that you don't. You don't at all. You know? I should have picked up that brick though before, because what's happened is the taken enemies spawn that stuff on the floor. It's booped the heavy ammo off the floor. Because I had 28 shots. There was a full brick on the floor, right? Which gives me more than 8, which therefore would have been a waste of ammo slightly. So I figured, let me keep 20 shots and I'll pick it up later. Wrong choice, because the enemies have booped that brick, so I'd have been better just picking it up. But that's how that's to what details I micromanage my ammo. I'm looking at shots. If there's a free shot net loss of a brick, I won't pick it up. As this is even more true for rockets. For rocket launchers, I'm super OCD about rocket launchers with ammo, especially my field prep rockets. When I use them in GMs, I'm very, very OCD with them. With Xenophage, kind of, but not as much because the ammo economy on it's really good. So the final knight to take out. Xenophage doesn't quite one-shot the knight. I was actually disappointed with that. It almost does. So we'll take out the final knight here. Again, ammo brick is gone. So we're actually at a loss. So now we've not just lost 3 shots or whatever. We've actually lost like 9. Because we could have been at max. So, oh well, that's fine. The run ends up working out okay anyways. That just goes to show that the true power of Xenophage. Boss takes 2 shield breaks. I'm sure you've seen that by now, but just to remind you on. The asteroids are now on this phase, so what we're going to do, this is different to the solar strat. Okay, don't pressure yourself. We're already on a 35-minute run. We don't need to go and like melt the boss down and go through the portal. On solar, yes, you should do that on a solar because you got revitalize and blast. You got a debuff super. You should do that. But on this class, no. Take down the boss's shield, then we're gonna fight the ads because we're obsessed with ad clear, right? We're obsessed. We've got OCD, ASMR, Roman super, Shadebinder vibes. Look at this. Fantastic. So it's a good example for me to give commentary to show you how good it is, even though earlier on in the video I said it's bad. It is for champs, but for ad clear it's good. It's alright. It is good. I would still argue a Revenant and a Behemoth Stasis Titan's better though, because it does 2 things good. It does DPS, it does like damage against a boss good. Like Revenant still does good that way. Behemoth does crazy damage. It's in actual fact buggy. It chunks bosses. It really does. I might get some Stasis Behemoth Titan gameplay in at some point. Because I haven't played Behemoth in ages. We'll get a turret down. We're just going to do some Mountaintop damage. Again, because we had that incident with the ammo brick, I don't want to use any heavy. And the more heavy I have later on, the more I can use for targets that are going to be annoying to us. Because this room's not annoying at all. Everything can be dealt with, as you can see, with the turret and the super. There's no critical moments. This is now, we're starting to get to on this phase, on the island phase, annoying. This can be an annoying bit. But being able to like Xenophage and add down, or a knight, without suffering at the final boss, without having enough ammo, is a liberty. It's really good that we can do that. Because you want at least... I mean, I'm not sure what the ammo is right now, what I need at the boss. Because this is the first time I'm watching it back. I would say you want at least 15 shots when you get to the final island. Because you've got captains to deal with and you've got a bit of DPS to the boss. So you want minimum 15. But chances are you are going to get at least 1 more brick. Because remember, there's timed phase heavy bricks that do drop. So we will at least definitely get 1. It's just another question if that brick falls off map. And that's where I think the game messes up with its coding. In terms of, it thinks you've had the ammo. I'm convinced. This is just hearsay. This is just me speculating. But if the game drops heavy ammo or special ammo on the floor. And that ammo drops off the floor. I think the game still thinks that you've had the ammo. Because then you find that, oh, that ammo's lost, and then it's always in that instance like, oh, I'm not getting any bricks. I had one just before, and it fell off map. And that's what sort of feels like in the game. It's like the game thinks it's gifted heavy, but it hasn't because it's fell off map. I would like them to change physics to heavy ammo, green ammo, to have no physics. They just drop on the floor, they land safe like a parachute, that's it. I don't want them. Why is ammo got physics? Why did it have physics in D1? Does anyone remember? I don't remember it having physics. Ammo should not be movable bricks. They should fall at the enemy's feet, and that's, they shouldn't even fall. They should just spawn. So they really need to do that, especially they're going to make more intricate zones in the final shape, like in the Pale Heart thing. All that's traversal. A lot of it's traversal I've saw. So any traversal encounters, it's not fun. Well, it is fun, but it's not fun for ammo because chances are it falls off map. And it's a problem in the game. That's another problem. It needs addressed at some point to have. The workaround I see is no physics. You don't need physics on ammo. There's no need for it other than they know about it and they're trolling us. But I'm not sure. We've got a turret down. This phase, the boss will go away when we kill Knight and the sniper. If we haven't killed the unstoppable, the boss will still go away. But you want to try and do as much damage as you can to the unstop before all the other enemies disappear. Because the unstop will de-aggro because there's no more adds to back him up. If we can freeze him, this stops this. So we're going to use a bit of Mountaintop because we've got license to do it. I'm max on Xeno nearly, which is really good because we're going to need a bit of it. The more ammo you have for Xeno on the final island, the more consistent it is. Say for example I went with 8, it would be less consistent at getting the clear because then we would have to micromanage between should we DPS boss or should we use on captains. If we don't use Xenophage on captains, we could wipe to them. Or we'll use a super, but then there's 4 captains. Well, we've only going to get 1 super maximum for the phase, which would maybe deal with 2 of them. But what about the other 2? Then we use 2 shots. We use maybe 4 shots apiece, or 3 shots apiece. Then we've got no ammo for DPS. So you've got to look at the entire thing and what ammo you need for the job. More ammo you've got, though, the more you can spam of it. And this island is the hardest for people. This is where you'll get your wipes. Up until this point, there's not much challenge. Maybe the Taken Realm's a bit awkward for people. But there's obviously not that much challenge. But this is where it is. Alright? Now, you can fight from back here on this phase. As soon as the Sounds are killed and you take Boss's shield next, you cannot stand here. You will get a no turn back zone and you will wipe. Do not come back on this island again. You have to fight the boss. They are making you fight the boss on the island. That's just how it is. So we'll make sure all Scions are killed before we go up there because they'll multiply behind cover. Like even 1 Scion left alive is a problem to us. We don't want any left alive. So you can do this by waiting a few extra seconds. If no Scion pushes and your turret isn't tracking any enemies, then you're good. So you need to make sure you're sliding into the boss's attack like so. Always face the boss when he does. It's counterintuitive to what you would usually do, right? If a boss attacks you, you want to run away, yeah? That's not the case. You want to run towards the boss to stop the momentum from knocking you off map, causing the wipe. That is the biggest threat. The boss's attack won't kill you. It'll just knock you back a little bit. We'll take down the boss's shield. This then spawns in the captains. We want to get a turret down. The captains spawn at the opposite side of the map, depending on where you are. We're going to spam Xeno, do a quick dodge there off the wall, the darkness wall, and then we're good. So do you see, that's a classic example of like Xenophage just being really good for that split second. It's good at breaking shield, it's good at captains and wizards. Same as Jotun, but it's actually a little bit better than Jotun. So that's just what I'm saying, it's such a versatile weapon. As is Mountaintop, but I wouldn't recommend like using Mountaintop there on the Knights because you need a solar shield break. Xenophage does this. Because when you get a match and shield stun, it does do assistive damage, but it stun locks the enemy type for like a second and a half. This matters to us because it stops the enemy briefly from fight. Like if that didn't happen, if say we use Mountaintop there on the captains, we were dead. That was a wipe because Mountaintop wouldn't have killed the captain as quick as Xeno. Unless the captain was one shot, then maybe I would use it. We've got Scion phase now. We'll get a turret down. We're going to pop super because the boss, I was worried about the boss a little bit. So I use super here. just to get rid of these scions, just to confirm the run. So you do have license to use a super at some point. It's up to you when you use it. I would try to not use it on the captain phase. Try and kill him with Xeno, but if you get in a tight spot, then use it, I suppose. With the Xenophage, you can control them. So you can control them with a turret. You can stop them from multiplying, which is all the difference. Especially when you're in cover, which you might need to go to, because the boss chases you on this phase. That's the thing, and the boss does have a stomp mechanic. Like, look how close that boss is getting to us. Boss won't one shot, but he'll leave you one shot, so you got to be careful. So I'm just looking at my turret energy at this point. We're 1.5. We want Xenophage equipped, because what we're going to do... I'm just thinking at this point, because generally I pick a pillar and do DPS, but because I'm not on a solar subclass, because I've not got Revitalize and Blast, I'm thinking now in my mind, well, I might not be able to melt the boss quick enough, right? So I'm on about behind a pillar. So I'm thinking maybe I should DPS in middle. It actually paid off, because I'd never DPS in middle. I'm on about middle island where the relic is. Because the captains will spawn up. There's another phase of captains, but I don't want to kill them. I want to get the run done, right? So that's what I end up doing. But I'm going to pop a rift as well for safety, to confirm the kill, basically. So we'll go to mid. We'll wait for the boop. Wait for boop mechanic first, then throw. We'll pop a turret down and a healing rift, and then just use Xeno. The turret, to be fair, didn't help us too much, but it was enough. We get booped again. Mountaintop finishes the kill. That was a solo GM on this. I did get platinum rating, just the footage ended at the footage ended slightly too soon, but I can confirm to you I definitely did get platinum rank. I've got the loot. I have a screenshot if you really were that bothered about it. But that was a run on this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.